Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Brendan McLaughlin, Education Counsel at PLRB, and today I'll be joined by Mike Brode, VP of Meetings and Education at PLRB. So, what's the scenario? The insured has spent months in an escalating dispute with his neighbor over the neighbor's alleged violation of HOA rules and garish lawn decorations. Finally, the insured takes things too far by aiming his sprinkler at the neighbor's newly painted shed, ruining an expensive paint job. The insured has been sued and wants their insurance company to defend them in a lawsuit. So we're going to hop right into these scenarios. Got a little bit of a game show for you today.
All right.
I've been reading Frontlines, keeping up with that. And over the past month or so, I've noticed a little bit of a trend in interesting casualty cases.
What is
Where
this Frontlines that you speak of, Brennan?
Great question. It's PLRB's newsletter.
Oh,
If you want to stay on track with the latest case law and the different questions that PLRB is covering, it's a great place to subscribe to. Just log in at plrb.org and sign up in your dashboard. But it's not just liability, but also property and auto as well.
and what
And
about
education.
us? Is there education in there, Brennan?
You bet.
Yes.
It's a good way to keep up with what the latest episodes of the podcast are as well. And our live webinars and other events. So great way to keep up with all that.
Yeah, weather and building codes too, I'm sure, and membership.
Everything.
All that stuff's out there. Yes, it's awesome.
Yeah, we got it all. So yeah, definitely check that out. Just like I did. And that's where I gathered these scenarios and these cases. A lot of people seeking to let's dive into it, because I've got a couple of neighbor-based ones that I wanted to run by you, and then we'll back up and look deeper into the issues there, talk about duty, defend, and occurrence.
What about current? Yeah, all right. I want to make sure that we get back to the. But yeah, you're the host. I'm just a participant. So how dare I jump in there? Yes, sir. You go right ahead.
You're eager for it, but
I
let's
can't wait. Yes.
yeah. So let's first look at this case. An insured intentionally erected a fence between their property and a neighbor's property to harm them after they refused to sell their property to them. And the insured was sued, and the complaint was that the fence was erected intentionally and was unreasonable, unnecessary, and maliciously done to interfere with the use of enjoyment of their property. If you've ever had a neighbor dispute like this, so the issue here is that the insured wants their insurance company to defend them against this lawsuit.
Can I ask one question, Brandon? Maybe you don't know. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not fair. But if I own my property and I want to put up a fence, I mean, is there the other side claiming it was on their property, or just that we put up this nasty fence to block a view? Or I guess I'm kind of lost a little bit. I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. This is exactly the point I was working my way up to. It doesn't really matter the how good of a case you think it is, because we're not there yet. Does this sound like a great case to you? Someone constructed a fence and that you've been harmed by some way by this fence?
It seems very odd to me, unless, I don't know, unless I had like this perfect view of a mountain range out my picture window in my kitchen, and now this nasty 50-foot high fence is now blocking my view. Yeah, I'm failing to grasp it, even though we haven't talked a lot about stuff. But yeah, it seems kind of malicious to me. I don't know, Brennan. It just seems like neighbors that don't get along, which is a shame.
It
You
is
live
always
next
a
to each
shame.
other. Get along. Come on, people.
Yeah, really. But what's interesting about the cases that we're talking about today is we're not really focused on the validity of the case itself, because we're talking about whether or not the insurance company needs to step in and defend, because that is still, is still expenses. Even if the case turns out to be totally nothing, totally not worth your time, it's still expenses to step in and have a duty to defend. You've got to get a lawyer. You've got to maybe even do a little bit of discovery before
Right.
maybe somebody throws it out. So the question is whether we even get to that point.
Wow.
Yeah, we're not even talking about exclusions. Also, we'll talk about later. We're just talking about whether there was an occurrence here. And there now that's the part you wanted to get to.
Right.
An occurrence, generally, I'll give a definition that's out there. Means an accident, including continuous or repeated exposure to substantially the same general harmful conditions, which results in during the policy period in bodily injury or property damage. But the first word is really the first noun there means
Occurrence.
an accident. That's really the one that we're talking about here. Yeah.
Because if you don't get past that, you don't have to go any further. Because you don't. If you don't even meet what's in the insuring agreement, if there is no accident, no occurrence, you can stop right there. You owe nothing further. But the weird part that you brought up is that duty to defend, because that's a lot broader than just this duty to potentially pay damages to another person for their bodily injury or property damage. So that's where it gets really hinky too sometimes, Brian, because the duty to defend is greater than your duty to indemnify. So, once again, the complexity is fascinating to me. But just at the gate, if I had to guess, even just looking at that, is there an accident here? I have somebody put up a fence. It's my property, Brennan. If I want to put up a fence on my property, I'm gonna put up a fence. So there's
Yeah.
no accident there. I wanted to put it up. So why are you suing me? But I don't see an occurrence. It's not an accident. Put up a fence.
Nope. And
Nope.
that's what the court said. It's
Oh,
how can you put up a fence by accident? You
right.
can't. It wasn't an accident at all, and therefore, or rather, it wasn't an occurrence. The um event that caused the harm was intentional. Didn't accidentally put up a fence. There's no, um, jurisdictions can differ on their focus. Some jurisdictions will focus on whether the insured's conduct was intentional. Others focus on whether the resulting harm was expected or intended or foreseeable. But in this case, uh, kind of sounds like the conduct and the harm were intentional on the behalf of the insured. So
If
no
there was a
occurrence here.
harm, I'm with you on the no
If there was a
occurrence, but I'm
harm.
like, if there was harm, come on. I think the other side here is what's your claim? So hopefully this was a lose lose on both sides. No, Mr. Insured, we're not going to defend you because it isn't an accident, but Mr. Claimant, go back inside and calm down. It's a fence. It's my
Ah,
property. I have every right, as long as it's within the homeowners association mandates that I can put up a fence. I'm putting up a fence. Brennan, come on. It's America.
yeah,
Come on, I want to put up a
right.
fence. Right? All right. I'm
All
sorry.
right.
I
Well,
digress.
here's another a softball or a lob, I guess,
Ooh,
because we're talking about a tennis court. In this case, we've got another neighbor, another insured, getting very angry at their own neighbor. They felt that their neighbor put up a tennis court and didn't have the right to do it, and so they were accused of spying on people. They were accused of yelling at, recording the people playing tennis, playing loud music into their yard. Um, uh, so they eventually got sued by the tennis players, and that insured, um, wanted their insurance company to defend them. And
so the allegation, what, you were taping me playing loud music? Um, yeah, I mean, usually you got to find some kind of wiggle room with something that's like negligent there. So I negligently turned up the volume too high or negligently raised my voice a few octaves more than I should have, or Yeah.
Uh,
I'm struggling with this one too, Brennan. I don't know.
yeah, it's kind of the same situation. It's just funny that it happened twice.
Same neighbors.
And
I
recently,
tore
yeah,
down my
yeah,
fence and I built a tennis court now. Ha ha. Put up with
yeah.
that now, huh?
They should have built a fence. They wouldn't have to look at the tennis court.
Oh,
But
good point.
yeah, same situation. Not an accident. Not an occurrence. Let's turn to. Um, I'll just give another example of this. Um, what do you think about sending a disparaging email? This was an interesting case that was in our logs. Sent a disparaging email about a relative to that relative and other family members. They were sued, claiming intentional infliction of emotional distress, and the sender of the email wanted their insurance company to defend them. What do you think?
Wow. I guess I would say it's got the freedom to express my opinions, so I'm fine there. I don't know. This one's weird because then it kind of ventures into that personal injury phase of like, is it defamation or which is what spoken word is slander. So defamation would be an email and you send it out to other people other than the person that you intended the nastiness to go to, right? So you kind of publicized it. So I don't know, Brenda. I mean, I see it maybe as in one of them coverage B things that we're not even talking about that we'll talk about anyways. That kind of advertising or personal injury kind of coverage, if it's out there, I could see it cropping up there. But is there an occurrence here? Is it an accident? Unless you accidentally included them on the distribution and didn't mean to, I don't see any accident here, sir.
That's right.
All right.
Yeah, you hit send on that email. You clicked it. It's even though it's just a click, it still counts.
Oh,
Yeah. I've got one more crazy neighbor story for you.
excellent.
Which is the insured's neighbor
All right.
has the special kind of windows.
A combination tennis court and fence? No.
They've got a lot going on over there.
All right.
Got a lot going on. Um, the allegation is that the design of these low efficiency windows focus sunlight on the vinyl siding of the house next door and cause it to melt.
Oh, this is fascinating.
Really mad at the I guess the insured here, and wanting to sue them. So you think that melting of the vinyl siding, you think that's an occurrence?
Wow. I'd have to look at because now all I did, I don't know all the facts, but it's just a window. I certainly, unless you can show somehow that I'm like some kind of, which I'm not, Brendan, you've worked with me. I'm not some kind of scientific genius who's going to figure out that the light hits this window just perfectly. It's going to do a magnifying glass effect and melt your siding. This one's a little bridge too far for me. I think it's this. I lean more towards this is kind of an accident. We're sorry our window melted your siding. Looks like you've suffered property damage, so I think you've got potential coverage at least. Maybe I don't know you anything. I don't know, but it certainly sounds like it was accidental to me, Brennan. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. This was just kind of in there because it's an example of, hey, uh, doesn't matter how crazy it is, uh, as long as it is an accident, it can be considered an occurrence, and you'll owe a duty to defend on that one. So
All
yeah.
right, perfect.
So I've got two more examples for you before we close out.
So far we've been everything wasn't occurrence other than the window so far, right? So for the
Right.
audience keeping score out there, all right.
Yeah.
I think I've been perfect so far, have I not, Brennan?
Yeah.
You
Yeah, you're
failed to
nailing
mention
it.
that, but okay, thank you very much. Appreciate that.
We'll have to have a little score on the screen.
Right.
Yeah.
Ding, ding,
yeah.
ding, ding.
Ding ding. So this one is based on a coverage question.
Uh-huh.
And it kind of gets to the issue of what if there's a mistake. So you have an insured homeowner
All right.
who is clearing out trees, chopping down trees. The insured believes that they're her own trees, but is accidentally chopping down the tree that belongs to the neighbors.
Ooh, how chihuahua.
The neighbors sue the insured, alleging trespass. The insured seeks a defense under the homeowner's policy. So again, you have the neighbor, they meant to cut down the trees.
Right.
They were mistaken about it. Is that a covered occurrence?
Wow. I could see courts coming down on either side because, you take saw to tree. That sounds pretty non-accidental to me. But the accident part is I thought it was my tree that I could cut, not your tree that I couldn't. So I can also see a court saying, you intended to cut down a tree, but not that tree. You mistakenly cut down your neighbor's. And believe it or not, Brennan, those trees, based on the type of wood it is, those can be very darned expensive. So, wow. I don't even know if I could hazard a guess on this one. I guess, what state is it, Brennan? Can you tell me that? Can you give me that clue?
Mike, I'm going to go ahead and say that is the right answer because that is the question you should ask.
Oh.
The jurisdictions can vary on this, whether they focus on the intent to do the conduct or they focus on the intent to cause the result. In this particular case, it was a California case.
Then let me guess.
Yeah.
California is going to probably say, no occurrence.
That is correct. Still keeping that 100%. The insured's conduct was intentional, even though the insured didn't intend to cause this harm. So this is an opinion of our coverage attorneys, but it's based on another case out of California, similar case. So, but yeah, check your jurisdiction because that's where you get into the real interesting stuff here. Is what exactly is that intent?
Right.
Is it the intent to do the thing? Is it the intent to cause the harm? So, just one more interesting twist on this before we let you out of here. When you look at cases of violence and actual
we should have had
I know.
at the beginning of this episode that we're going to talk about violence. Yes.
Well, we had an interesting example of that recently. The insured shined a laser, one of those little laser pens, and they shined it in someone's eye, and caused harm. They didn't mean to cause as much harm as they did. The person lost the vision in the eye, but they intended to aim it, and in that case, the court found that they're.
I can't guess.
Oh, go ahead and guess.
Because I am going to guess.
Yeah.
I mean, that little laser thing can be dangerous. So I'm thinking, even if you didn't specifically intend to knock it into somebody's eye, you start pointing a laser at people. That, I'm going to say, is not an accident, sir.
Yeah. This.
Yeah? That's all you're going to give me?
You're
once again correct, and you're just going to give me. I've been correct every time, and all I get is yeah. All right, yeah.
Well, I need a sound effect. I need to get like a soundboard, one of those things.
Right.
I'll push the button and it goes
wrong and
yeah.
Ding. If I was
ding.
Right.
Yeah. Actually, I think this little machine I've got next to me here might be able to do that.
All right.
So, yeah, the majority of jurisdictions hold that an occurrence happens when the insured, didn't expect or intend the resulting harm. But in this case, they were following the minority rule, and they held that the existence of an accident or occurrence did not depend upon whether the harm was expected. So it just depended on whether they intended to do the action. And in this case, they did intend to do it.
Don't point lasers at people, Brendan.
Yeah. So I'll ask you one really quick. Where the insured, and this is because this is pretty similar, where the insured intentionally punched somebody. So they punched somebody, they got sued by the punchee, and the puncher wants their insurance company to defend them. What do you think?
Because they're probably saying, well, I intended to put my hand up to stop this person, but I certainly didn't intend to break their jaw or something, right? So I intended the action, but not the significance of the injury that occurred. So I negligently punched too hard versus intentionally. So, but I still think I don't know, you punch somebody, that's not going to be an accident, Brennan, in my book. But maybe I'm wrong this time. I don't know. But I'm saying no occurrence.
You are correct again.
Yay!
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, 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 ding.
No occurrence here. And I bring this one up because when you hear about this, you might think about the intentional acts exclusion. But here, and in all these cases, we're not getting...
You don't have to go there, right?
Yeah. There's a certain amount of, if you're talking about exclusion, you've already admitted that there's coverage. You've already established coverage, and now not necessarily looking for it, but like you're finding a way that it doesn't apply. But in these cases, there's coverage doesn't attach at all. So one more interesting case.
Well, I thought you were done 2 cases ago, Brennan.
I know, but you wanted to be tested on each
extra
one.
Bonus cases. All right, you're just trying to make me miss one so that
I was trying to set this one up.
All right.
But you've got 100% so far. One last one. So the insureds are accused of negligent supervision of their son who assaulted a neighbor. We're coming back to the neighbor thing.
Did the neighbor deserve being assaulted?
I'm not going to get into these facts. They're sad facts. But
make light of it.
No. But the son's conduct was undoubtedly intentional. And so the question is whether this is an occurrence. So the parents want their insurance company to defend them from the neighbor who's suing them. Yep.
Well, this one, I'd have to go certainly to the son's actions. It appears that certainly was deliberate and was not accidental, but when it comes to the parents' responsibility here, unless you could show they somehow were in cahoots here with it, I think it certainly does seem accidental to them. So I think this is one where we might have a defense here, Brennan, potentially. That's where I'm leaning, brother.
Ding, ding, you got it.
Yay!
That was the only really tricky one there. Whether or not the act qualified as accidental depends on not necessarily the perspective of the person seeking coverage, but just on who is seeking coverage. So the son intended it, but that's not the insured in this particular case. You're talking about the parents, and from their perspective or from their situation, their conduct was intentional, or conduct was not intentional at all.
I thought you were
to
stump me there and say, aha. No, right. That makes perfect sense to me, Brennan.
All right, so let's take your perfect score, Mike, and leave it there. And we'll head into our 3 key takeaways.
All right.
Congratulations.
Brennan, thank you. Appreciate that. Yay.
Yay. All right, our 3 key takeaways. Liability insurance doesn't cover every lawsuit that can be filed against an insured. Its intent is to cover fortuitous losses. If an insured's action is not an occurrence, coverage doesn't attach, so there's no need to analyze the intentional acts exclusion. And whether or not an act qualifies as accidental, intentional, or negligence depends on who is seeking coverage. We'll include these cases. Check out the show notes for those cases and for key note points from this episode and links to learn more at plrb.org. Subscribe and rate us, and we'll see you next time. The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its members,